for you to give us a summary of testing and what you've learned so far from the process of testing, and then talk about what your plans are for the next 4 weeks as co-teachers.
Okay, well, the testing.
The testing, kind of a mixed bag, really, in my opinion. I thought the computers and like the functionality worked okay. I thought we were all right with that. I only had a few kids. I never had a bigger class because of being was just a special ed. But we didn't really have any problems.
I always had one boy who was done in 8 minutes, no matter what the test was. He was the 8-minute test taker, and the students who refused to take, they had to sit in there, and they couldn't do anything until the first person was done, so they were thankful that they were in with the 8-minute test taker. So, but the kids, I mean, they worked hard, most of them, except for the 8-minute.
Honestly, there's a few that were just, why am I taking this? This is, I mean, it's not going to hurt me. It's not going to help me. I'm just going to put A for all answers and be good done.
Well, and I had one girl, and she told me she wrote about why she hates Park, and it's a ridiculous test for her essay, so that was funny.
Okay. Freedom of speech. We love that.
Yeah. That's right. So, yeah, so that's kind of how the testing went.
Yeah.
But as far as the infrastructure, it was fine, and that wasn't a problem. So,
our papers,
yeah, we finished our papers.
seen a lot of good progress in the papers. For the most part, everyone can get a works cited for the most part.
And we're still working. That's the one thing they have to walk away with. So some kids still have to make revisions one more time. So most of them about 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
So it's
I was
just
going
how
to say,
it
what's
goes.
the most? Was the most revisions with a kid with a disability or a kid without disability?
It's kind of like a mixed bag.
I think it was mixed, definitely mixed.
Yeah.
It was not kid with disability. No, it was more the kid. I had one who kept turning in the same paper because he refused. So I took the grade. The grade is actually on 4th quarters grades instead of 3rd, and then I went ahead and weighted my quarters, and so it's 45, and I just entered 0 out of 80 until he makes the corrections. You have to be smart there. So you're ineligible. So now you have to do it. So, and I had several like that, because just completely
lazy. Yeah, just
refused.
being defiant. But I thought for the most part in our class, for the most part, they were able to make corrections. I think the hardest part for especially my kids was putting the in-text citation in. I think that was the hardest part of transitioning into that in-text citation without just plopping it in there all willy-nilly. I think that is.
And then we gave them a review sheet for the test they just had and asked them what did they like about the process of the papers, and what constructive what constructive criticism could you give us, what could be done better. I said you can't just put this sucks without saying why. So we can help the next group. So we did that, and then we're moving on to we just finished a little session with Knight and a few nonfiction, and we're moving on to Elie Wiesel's Knight. We're going to watch the Oprah interview with him and then read that novel, and they'll do a lot of journaling for that. So that's pretty much where we're
What about?
And then we're going to work on writing rhetorical.
And what about co-teaching wise? What's your roles going to be in the next 4 weeks?
Yesterday,
You left.
yesterday we had the ACT. So you were.
I was gone.
Yeah, you were reading the test. So I took the lead of the class, and I just did accommodations for the whole test for everyone. And I said you can go at your own pace, or you can go at my pace when reading the test. For the most part, when the writing process, you've been doing a lot of the grading. I've been doing a lot of the walking around, answering questions.
For Knight, it'll be we'll do a little bit
Little-
of everything.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of like to do the U's again for that. I think that
Mhm.
would be good.
Yeah, the U's were really good.
So we'll try to do lead support and co-lead
Yeah.
and separate. So we'll try to. And I haven't taught night before, so it'll all be new. So we'll have to see how that
Oh,
goes.
good. Well, that'll put you on level playing ground. And I love that you're talking about would be doing the parallel teaching, where you would be in use and on sides of the room and both be teaching a lesson. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure I knew what you were talking about. What do you think might need to shift or change for either engagement or assessment or reading in that last quarter as you start to get that fatigue of kids?
Well, I don't know.
I don't really.
Well, we'll have to make sure we have what they would consider fun activities. And when we read, I don't mind taking them outside now and then.
With
So
it getting nicer. With our school, we have no windows.
No windows,
in most rooms. So I think the kids just get cabin fever after not seeing sunlight, and they know it's 70 degrees outside. So I want to get outside as much as they do, and I
Right.
think they just get restless and just get after lunch. There's
So I
Why
think
am
if
I
we
in
can do that, that would definitely
help engage them
help
a little bit.
bit.
Yeah.
And so we'll just have to, just try to have some fun assignments, I think, and lessons to go with it.
And I thought they were pretty engaged during the paper because it was video games, stuff that they enjoyed. So
Yeah, they liked the topic of that, so they thought that was really fun. It all took longer than I wanted to spend, but and and by the same token, it's just they needed the time, so.
yeah.
You guys have such a good relationship. Here's something fun to try. And that would be to turn it into a competition between the two of you of who gets to go outside each day, depending on which group answers the questions the better. Just for like a week or two. It would be really fun of, go Mrs. Palmer, go Mr. Tyler, And so, give kids kind of an ownership of being a collective group. But I just think that would be a fun thing for you guys to try. And I think your relationship is so strong that they see that as I'm getting one teacher or the other. And then maybe the next week you switch and say, okay, I've become a trader and I've moved to the other side. And again, tying something like that, I just think it's that end of the year little incentives that you're going to need to kind of get through that last bit of literature that I think is important.
Yeah,
And
that's a
one
good
last
idea.
thing.
Yeah,
That'd
good
be fun.
And then the last question before we wrap up today, passing, not passing. Can you see any kids that aren't passing or are the lowest grades and why you think that's happening?
I think the lowest grade is just the fact of not turning in work.
And the lowest grades are not our class together. That's because there are 3 teachers in here. Because we
Yeah.
have Mrs. Rossmiller too. And they are from my other classes.
I wouldn't say it's ability-wise is why it's low. It's effort and turning in work.
Because I think
So
I'd
TJ,
have to look
that
at
might be. So TJ, that might be a good goal for you, the non-turning work in, to turn that into a competition as to how the class could get their assignments in and get their grades up. And you could monitor that as a team. And Lisa, you could be monitoring the literature part of doing, and so now we've got the social piece. So it becomes a team effort to get everybody to turn their papers in. Oh, well, Mr. Tyler, your group only had 80% compliance in turning everything in. And oh, Ms. Palmer, you had 92%. So your team wins and you get to go outside. And so make it unexpected if they're going to get rewarded for knowing the literature or doing what you asked them to do. And so there becomes this culture in the last quarter, we're going to work harder and smarter.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Okay. All right, any last words or things you need from any of us before we wrap up today?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Jennifer, anything you want to add?
Nothing that I need to add from here. You guys are doing a really great job. You should know that next week, Dr. Deeker and I will be out in California at the Council for Exceptional Children, and I'm gonna be presenting on what we've been doing for the past year. So I'm really excited to get to show some people from all over the country what we've been working on this year. So it should be pretty exciting about it.
Oh, that's neat.
Awesome.
Great.
So you will be a live poster all over the country next week, just so you know. If somebody says they saw your face, they did. All right, well, the next meeting, I would like to spend 1 or 2 minutes talking about writing this up and starting to put this out for publication. So we will follow up with you with that next week, okay?
That sounds
Sounds good.
good. All right. That sounds
Have a great day. Thanks.
Okay, well,
Bye.
bye.